the game has started, so we're going to jump right into those. Production, please lead us into this losers match of the group F. Is that how the alphabet works?
That is, in fact, how the alphabet works, yes.
Well, that's great, because I'm 24, so I should know that. We're going to see Mono Blue from Soey, 44-card version, and we see Annihilation and Bolt in hand already, so I guess the cards don't really matter, huh, Rob? And we're going to see Red-Green for Mugibaby with Stars Align and Suleimani looking for the payoff, maybe the next draw. Yeah,
Mugibaby's definitely looking for any sort of finisher, has all of the tools here to kind of set this up, but not to be ignored on the other side. Two-dimensional portals now, which are great for both being offensive and defensive. Yep. That Annihilation will help stall. And one potential X factor here is most of the red-green lists are 3 red, 2 green. Mugi here is a 3 green, 2 red. No Axe, but instead opting for Drow. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Gust matters here, right? If the hero placement does not go the way of the blue player and or Mugibaby gets control of initiative, you could prevent Annihilation with Gust, and that's going to be something that's a little bit different, a little bit non-traditional in the way the meta has been lately. And on top of that, seeing in the list there, 2 enough magic as well. So initiative very important for Baby here because that's 5 ways to stop an Annihilation if you need to.
You see the creeps going for into the first lane for Mugibaby, which is great for Lycan. Obviously, the synergy with the value of its ability, and also just trying to counter Kana's own ability that just brings the creeps here no matter what. We're going to see Ignite, just a great hand from Soey. Ignite also early on, 2-dimensional portals, like you said. Foresight as well. Maybe missing a Sanctum just to make sure he can use all these cards and cycle through his deck. But still a pretty strong start, I think, for Soey.
Yeah, I would be kind of shocked if we don't see a dimensional portal here just to try to slow things down a bit. That wolf coming down, you have the other creep there. Lycan is likely going to cause a trade with the Magi. You could use like a cunning plan to swap places if you want to reposition the Kana a bit, but it's still not going to save the Ogre, right? Because Drow makes Lycan attack for 5. And yeah, the dimensional portal is here.
And there's a great synergy between Lycan and the Drow, buffing up the Savage Wolf to 4 attack instead of 3, and being able to get trade with the creep is massive in this first lane. Legion very alone here. Can't really make any plays. This good Nasal Goo not going to do much against this creep that's already dying to the retaliate. Yeah. And no heroes for Soey, so no plays to be made either.
And in this lane here, we have a pair of heroes that are threatening an awful lot of damage on this tower as well. So we may see a second dimensional portal just to stall. Again, portals can be used offensively or defensively because they create quite, the meat shield, if you will. If you don't like your hand, Foresight is an option if you just want to kind of cycle through. This is a 44-card mono blue list, so cycling through is rather important according to you.
That's correct. You could also see the Ignite setup in lane 1 just to get that going as soon as possible, get the value out, and kill one of those creeps there in the first lane as well. You're going to see a stall pass actually from Soey.
Yeah, that
is might be risky.
Interesting.
We're going to see what he has to counter with if...
I mean, you have to assume that Mugibaby's thinking about either Druid here or Suleimani's Favor. Personally, I like Favor. I think that setting yourself up for... the high roll, if you will. Yeah, absolutely. I like the Favor. So now if you draw either Emissary or, Time of Triumph, it becomes available. Though with only 2 red heroes, you can't Time of Triumph in that lane.
And so we could have been thinking about the cunning plan if something like a Bronze Legionnaire was played in front of the Luna, just to save that Luna and make sure he could save it. So a bit of a risk passing there with so many great plays in hand. If your opponent passes as well, it just passes onto the combat phase, so you can't do anything there. But in the end, I guess he knew that Mugibaby had a play to make, and Ignite comes down in the first lane.
All right, so with no red hero that is going to be available in this first lane, if you want to really make use of the ramp, you want an Emissary draw here.
And that is the thing with having 3 green heroes and 2 red heroes. It's a lot harder to get that guaranteed Time of Triumph in lane 1 in a situation like this one, but he doesn't draw it anyway, so still very much okay for Mugibaby.
Yeah, now we might actually just see a pair of Roseleaf Druids because the first one will grant you mana. So you could go with a 4-drop followed by a 4-drop if you want to do that here. You may consider saving some for the third lane if you want to try to set up a future Time of Triumph there, since you do have a red and a green, but getting kind of control of this, or at least trying to contest the Canna lane, is typically important against the mono blue players, specifically the first lane, because we know that they like to kind of camp there, play the Sanctum there, and yeah, we see at least the first Druid come down.
There's a card draw from Soey. Could look for some card draw himself with the Under Secrets. Yeah, we're going to see that because he is missing some key pieces, and the longer you wait here without drawing that Time of Triumph, the worse position you are in. Once Annihilation, for example, comes down, and the Pre on the Weak is huge here for damage.
Now, that was an awful lot of dogs, which is something that happens after you play a Diabolic Revelation, right? You get a lot of wounds, really gets value, and I like this enough magic. You might think of it as a waste, but you already have that other Gust in hand to potentially save you. And again, still another copy of enough magic in your deck, and that, you know, really helps you snowball that middle lane.
We could see the Viscous Nasal Goo here to trade with the Zeus. No items in hand for Soey, so very clear indication for Baby that there aren't really answers to this. There's no arrows to deflect with a Dimensional Portal, for example, so yeah, Mugibaby taking control of this lane. Soey can't really do too much.
So cunning plan with the swap allows the passive on Zeus.
Actually, the Compel won't do much either because there isn't something to deflect the arrow.
Yeah, I was going to say the Compel could, in theory, just make you take 9 less damage.
Yep.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. So you're going to lose both heroes anyway. You're just kind of stalling the damage on the tower. Because honestly, when you're already at 17, taking 9 from that Bristleback there is kind of scary, you know?
Now, a very important turn here. 6 mana for both players. Well, 9 for Mugi in the first lane because of the ramp. But initiative in favor of Mugibaby. If he has the Gust, which he does have it in hand, he can be very patient, not do anything in lane 1, and then Gust lane 2, and that stops the possible Annihilation. And he already has full control of lanes 2 and 3, so...
We did, in fact, highlight how Gust is a bit of an anomaly in this red-green ramp list because most players are cutting Drow, but it's going to come up huge here because with only 1 blue hero even on the board, Gust is...
I'm not sure I like this Hourglass. I mean, with this hand, you're not really tempted to use the mana because it's not, you know, you don't have too many green cards here. You're pretty much giving up lane 2 because you know Annihilation could be a thing, and you have no answer to it now without initiative. You are going to take lane 3 100%. Obviously, you have Time of Triumph, you have Stars Align, but it does feel a bit bad where...
Yeah, perhaps what Mugibaby was thinking is with these arrows the way they are, even if I Gust, I'm not going to get a lot of damage in on this tower. So an Annihilation is really only stopping, you know, 3 damage by my opponent. Maybe I should wait. So it is possible that these arrows impacted the decision-making there.
Now, the Duel or Berserker Call also could have been an option, but... not in hand for Mugibaby, and then there's the Mystic Flare instead of Annihilation, so keeping that for later. Not taking too much damage here. Annihilation not needed, but lane 3 is going to be very much in favor of Mugibaby.
All right, so the Cloak comes down. I was going to say, I think we were going to see a Rose Leaf because that means eventually that'll open up Emissary or Time of Triumph in the next turn. We get the time here. So this is absolutely going to fall. And we got a couple of turns to wait, but that Lycan does already have a Blink Dagger available. So mobility activated. Soey has a very important deployment here, right?
And now
4 heroes.
Yeah. And Time of Triumph means that lane 3 initiative is very important because even with 2 or 3 heroes, things like Berserker's Call and Gust and enough magic are all answers to Annihilation. So that could be an ancient kill lane if it's not stopped by Soey.
So, wow, I'm kind of surprised by that. I was just about to say, there's actually no reason for Soey to put a blue hero in that first lane because of the Prey on the Weaks doing all of the work. There was a strong chance that that tower was going to fall even without the presence of a hero.
Although it's 7 mana with Thunder God's Wrath available, even though these health pools are very high, it's still good to soften up the heroes a tiny bit, maybe have some Eclipse damage come in later.
It's also possible that they just wanted to cycle the Foresight, right, before you go into the other lanes to dig deeper. Again, at 44 cards, cycle is important. We draw the Sanctum. That's great to set up here as well, but
Time
it
of
is
Triumph
locked.
for Mugi as well, the second one. No duel and no Berserker's Call, but the Gust is there. And now the double Hourglass here really coming in clutch for Mugibaby. They'll be locking all these cards you can cycle through with Soey's deck. Able to cycle through so many cards with Cunning Plans, a lot of cantrips like Foresight also. And maybe Arcane Assault even as well. All those card draws, you know, stalled out for 2 turns.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, there's still no reason to not do them because you need to do it sooner rather than later if you want to activate those cards to get through the lock. There's no way to remove lock in the game as of right now other than the rounds progressing. So you kind of just have to accept it and eat it. So he realizes this, plays the Foresight.
And these Sanctums would be so useful right now, but...
Oh, yeah, and another Foresight. So those Hourglasses are incredibly clutch when you consider what could have happened.
That's a fantastic hit for the random you know, effect of the Maul. Could have hit the Favor, which is a lane that's already been kind of given up by Mugibaby, not very effective, but Under Secrets taking away some of those draws from the red-green ramp deck.
So Gust not able to shut down the entire lane, only 2 heroes next to each other, so I like this pass.
Yep. Arcane Assault is there, though. No Sanctum to refresh to play, you know, a board impacting spell and then Arcane Assault as well. But I think Arcane Assault is going to be pretty important, only taking 5 damage. I think you're fine with the board state right now for stalling if you're Soey.
Yeah,
but I don't. This is a scary lane here.
Yeah,
yep.
I was going to say, I don't think that you want to annihilate or do anything defensive here because not only do you have the other lane to worry about, it's not necessarily like ancient potential, but it is scary. But you also, you know, I was going to say, you know that the Lycan has that Blink Dagger activating next turn. So by getting rid of it here,
we see the
delay.
The Arcane Assault gets initiative, and Annihilation does clear that board entirely of those Time of Triumph heroes. We also saw in lane 2, the Under Secrets was placed once initiative was lost by Mugibaby, and he still drew a card, even though combat damage didn't go through. It is because Arcane Assault, even though it procced before it was placed, Under Secrets checks the damage at the end of the combat phase, and then it still draws you the card. So things like a Gloaty Vandal would also draw you a card, for example.
All right, now this is going to be a very, very big turn. And the reason is we could see a 2-man Time of Triumph in this middle lane by Mugibaby. And because of those Hourglasses, the Annihilation available to Soey is currently locked. And you could consider trying to Thunder God's Wrath here and then in the next lane, and that would get rid of Legion Commander, except for you don't have a Sanctum.
Yep.
So
it's the biggest thing.
You cannot do it before the Time of Triumph resolves. Legion Commander would then live. You're in between a rock and a hard place.
No way to steal back initiative either, so it is tough. There, again, still no damage spells from the Legion. There isn't a dual Berserker's Call. Axe is not in the deck, so that isn't an option, but the dual at least are and still have not been found. And the Gust, again, because of the changes to Gust, it now only affects, like you see here, the enemy hero and its neighbors. And this gap here means that can't really silence all 3 blue heroes.
So if you are Soey, are you thinking I'm going to have to either use these Prey on the Weaks or Dimensional Portal just to stall in this middle lane?
I think it has to be a Prey on the Weak. There aren't that many damage units, though. If there was an Ignite here, for example, that would be absolutely massive. You could even play it twice and go maybe even wide enough to take the tower this turn.
Well, I mean, there's a fair amount. The tree is damaged and a creep on the one side. We have 3 damage in the other, so it's more, you know, brittle units, but it is 2 more. And honestly, you have the option to just play multiples if you want. If you want to try to like turn the tide here.
The Maul does not come down, surprisingly. Even though initiative was in favor of Mugi, that is a bit weird. I mean, not very impactful, obviously, but why not at that point?
Yeah, honestly, if you're not trying to set up like an ancient kill in the first lane, you might consider just double Prey on the Weak here and try to force a tie. Because
but at 36 HP, I don't think it's enough. There aren't as many damage units here.
The Bronze Legion stands united.
Zeus isn't here to zap either to create even more, so...
Yeah, with the additional creeps coming down, that really dampens that plan, so...
You do have to block, though, because Jasper Daggers or Blink can go onto Treant, and that would be enough damage to threaten the lethal.
Yeah, we'll see some blockers here to try to set up the Annihilation the following turn. We get the multicast, so blockers for days. And in reality, there's no reason to not play a second Dimensional Portal. Or, I mean, I guess you could play Prey in the Week. That's fine, too. But either way, you're going to play something that costs 4 there.
Well,
Wow.
A lot of skill here from Soey.
I would rather be lucky than good.
Another time of triumph. So both players drawing pretty well, I think.
And this is the most eventful lane we've seen the entire tournament. A lot of high IQ plays in that lane 3.
2 Blink Daggers here, I think we will probably see, a few heroes place lane 1 just to be able to answer Luna, not let her do her solitary gameplay with a Sanctum place and then, Thundering God's Wrath, for example. If you draw a duel, that Bristleback with initiative will instantly kill the Luna and have some control, or at least, allow Soey not to have full control from the first lane.
Also, if you expect your opponent to play an Annihilation, and let's be honest, that's exactly what you expect, placing the heroes here means that on the following turn you can blink them back over and re-threaten.
Or even take this lane. I mean, Time of Triumph heroes, it is very healthy still, but we don't see a duel still. Again, the duel's not found. All 3 is still in the deck.
And we see another Time of Triumph come down. These are very triumphant heroes.
×2 on both, which means just everything's added up again. Just
yes,
stacks.
which is why we see 16 damage. You're just saying this tower is healthy, but you're absolutely right. You can leave these here and then force your opponent, if they annihilate in that middle lane to try to, stave things off, and they need to, then they're going to have to come back and have an answer here. And with the health pools and the armor that is available to these heroes, it's going to have to be a 3rd annihilation.
And there's no Arcane Assault in hand for Soey, so that means that if he annihilates here, loses an initiative, he can't take it back, which means that now lane 1 is a problem as well. If the duel's found and the Ogre's killed,
honestly, it's just over because
there's no blink either for Soey to blink the Zeus to have 2 different heroes. And Gus is there as well in hand for Mugi.
Yeah,
so
I was just going to say, not only that, we have the 2 Hourglass heroes down, so even if you draw Annihilation, you cannot play it.
That's a weird effect when you're zoomed out.
Yeah,
like a lasso. Kind of.
A little bit.
And
but yeah, this is in the bag. This is over. I don't think that there's anything that Soey can do to stall.
There's no blink either from Zeus. And now, even with fantastic creep spawns, I think it might be too much. The mana will, I believe.
Yeah, if the heroes get blocked in that first lane,
there's not quite enough damage. Yeah, you can't push it through here. If you have damage units, you could maybe do something crazy, but at this point, the board isn't in favor of Soey. And
yeah, if you get 2 creep spawns in that first lane and like perfect arrows, then that means that Baby would need to play some additional damage to push it through, because it is 16 siege, so you are 5 short if everything is blocked.
And now the fact that the favor is still in that lane might come back to bite Soey, because he could have taken it down with the Maul. There was no reason not to. He didn't have initiative either in that, a few turns ago. And that's just 2 extra mana for no reason for Mugibaby to have to play around with his cards. You can gust and then maybe answer with something else. We do see an arrow here from the creep onto the Ogre. We could see a duel that would just 100% seal the deal, but Gust can come down as well.
Yeah.
There's a Jasper Dagger.
There's the duel, and that is going to be it. A duel will come down.
The Dagger could have countered the Gust, but the duel cannot be countered when you're dead.
There is no daggering a corpse.
That is very true, and that would be game 1 for Mugibaby. So very strong start from him. Played around, I think, very well around all the outs he had, playing around Annihilation, making sure not to... And then the 2 Hourglass, I think, also came in really clutch to just close the door on Soey's game plan.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we saw not 1 but 2 Annihilations drawn and played for Mono Blue. And normally, if you say that out loud, it means Mono Blue is going to come away victorious. But 2 Time of Triumphs resolved, a lot of pressure early on from Baby. A very good enough magic, in my opinion. I think put things really in the red-green favor there.
The game has started up once again. Mugibaby having won on red-green ramp has to switch his deck. This is a conquest format in this WePlay tournament. And Soey has the chance to either stay on his Mono Blue deck or change it around. He's going to opt to stay instead.
And he's running into the old boogeyman, the Salamene Storm. The deck that won the WePlay Mighty Triad Strength Tournament when it was piloted by Hype.
The first time we saw this matchup come up was actually in that tournament itself, because Mello, a very good player, was the kind of the pioneer, at least in the tournament scene, to bring Mono Blue. He ended up not making it past group stage, and Mono Blue did lose to Storm, but after that I think players optimized it more and made it so that Mono Blue had a pretty good matchup against it. I still think it's going to be pretty even though. depend on the draws a lot, I think, as well.
All right, so we saw Soey with the Ignite there, and we know that Baby also has an Ignite available now, and going to go to the third lane, maybe try to keep that Drow alive. Getting some damage in. That's actually pretty important when you have a Drow on the board, being able to deal 1 damage, because then that means your melee creep tries to trade and survive, but Cunning Plan changes that.
Bit of an awkward hand for Soey. 2 Sanctums, Diabolic is kind of situational as well, and the Arcane Assault that you want to play for initiative later on, not really for card draw. So he's going to depend a lot on the cards he draws here, but Mugibaby, 2-dimensional portals, played on curve are fantastic value, so probably the best value in the game, honestly, with the stats it provides.
Yeah, a portal in this first lane has the potential to be massive. Not only do you have Ogre and the Treant there with a couple of creeps, but it's looking like you're going to win trades, and you have a potential for multicast to go off. This could be, snaps that dimensional portal very quickly. Does he get the multicast? Does not, but he has a backup, so not the end of the world.
Very good answer there from Soey. He finds the Ignite and the Foresight, so he's able to get some pretty impactful cards for this turn 2 as well. Both Lunas dying here. No items bought for either player. The gold wasn't really there last turn due to the kind of low impact round 1 from both of these decks. Not really hero killer decks.
What? 2 decks that are running a lot of blue heroes didn't kill things in the first round? They're not just swimming in gold. They're not Scrooge McDuck.
But the early Ignites will help with killing at least creeps. We'll see the second Ignite from Soey here. See where he decides to play it. He can get the upkeep kill on the Drow, but any kind of spell from Zeus would also do the same, so...
I mean, he has the Sanctum, so it's entirely possible we see this other Sanctum get developed, or the Foresight just a dig, maybe find something a little bit better. And there is the Ignite. That's a good placement if you want to try to slow that down. In the future, with all of those units wounded, right? In the future, even if you don't have an Annihilation but you need to stall, you can always pop in there and Prey on the Weak.
The early Arcane Assault, like we said, any spell played will zap the Drow and get the trade here because Zeus was targeting her instead of the tower. And yeah, the value is already here. And if Kana wants to go to lane 1, which he normally does, you're just going to give the Ignite even more value, although you will probably take full control of this lane 1. You have the Gust as well if you keep initiative to be able to stop Annihilations the turn after, for example. But I think Kana will probably not go lane 1. I think it's already set up quite well. I'm going to go try and fight for lane 2 instead, or lane 3.
And meanwhile, we see Skywrath going to that first lane. So that tells me that we might see either Prey on the Weak to slow things down, or that you're just praying you draw at any cost. Something there it is. So with the Ignite, that means at any cost will wipe this lane entirely. That is an easy decision for Soey. And
the Arcane Assault gives initiative to Soey as well, so he had the chance to play that before a Gust came down, for example.
Easy play.
And now the setup has been made by Soey. He has the Sanctums, has the Diabolic. He's playing a much slower game, not going for immediate board impact with Dimensional Portals, but instead setting up for later rounds with the Ignites, with the improvements. And now he starts putting in the pressure. Lane 2 very much in his control, Kana as well.
And we could also see Prey on the Weak. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of damage on this tower. Suddenly, things are looking great for Soey after a slow start.
No initiative cards for Mugibaby. Has to probably just pass here. But it is tempting to play Sanctum and Portal, but Annihilation in the second lane would be pretty brutal for Soey next turn if initiative is kept. But again, with no Arcane Assault, it makes it a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And yeah, the tempting play is made instead. Mugi going to go for his own pressure on lane 3.
Now, the one thing that the blue-green list has going for it, the mono-blue list doesn't, is that it's far better at trying to kill an Ancient, right? So if you have Kana in a lane like this, in the third lane, which is less than ideal, but you take a tower and your opponent takes a tower, but you can Emissary and you can do the storm thing, if you will, really go off. That's kind of what gives your list an advantage in this matchup.
And there's Luna threatening the Annihilation, which isn't hand, but we'll see how Soey decides to maybe counterplay that. Has the Mystic Flare. Only a single unit on this lane means that it'll be a pretty easy pickup if Soey has initiative.
And Soey has ways to ensure that initiative is there because of the Arcane Assaults. It's just a question of, do you want to consider playing Sanctum and then refreshing for the Assault just to develop the Sanctum? Or do you want to save it for another lane?
Now, the Arcane Assault is in hand for Mugibaby, but no blue hero in lane 1, so can't really fight that initiative war against Soey here. And I think Annihilation will not come down lane 2. Bold claim.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we saw a pass, so Soey's deciding, I don't want to waste one of these Arcane Assaults just to develop a Sanctum. I want initiative. We're going to pass. Have a staring contest, lane 1.
This could be an Eclipse or a Mystic Flare. Either one will kill this Luna.
Yeah.
Mystic Flare obviously has a fixed value.
Yes.
Eclipse can grow over time, so probably the better option to keep that for the late game. This is both these decks do stall quite a bit.
And because of the positional nature of Mystic Flare, even sometimes you don't get the value you want out of it, so something like that is satisfying.
Arcane Assault here will seal the deal on the second at any cost for Soey going into lane 3. And again, the creeps, the Kana ability bringing even more creeps to the party, and the party is over. The police is here. Ogre might even get a multicast. Well, he's going to kill himself.
Yeah, Ogre's going to end up dying here because of the Ignite, but it does significantly slow things down for Mugi here. Now, there are a bunch of heroes back at the fountain. There might be some consideration for developing a glyph, though normally you develop glyph when you're winning a lane and you want to prevent your opponent from coming in and answering. But
and the big advantage of blue-green
and we do see a glyph, okay. Yeah. I like the placement of the glyph in the first lane because we've talked several times throughout the tournament that Mono Blue likes to jump in that first lane, do some silly things with Thunder God's Wrath and some other cross-lane plays and setup, and this makes that a lot more difficult. And purchase phase, so just grabbing some health. We know where the creeps are going because of Kana.
The advantage that blue-green has is the ramp from green. That's not really coming into play here because Stars Align have not been drawn. And also the fact that you can go, like you said, much wider, go for the Ancient Kill with Emissary, play Solitaire in one lane and go for the, almost guaranteed Ancient Kill instead with Prey on the Weaks and Emissaries. But in this case, Soey countering that completely with the at any cost. Can still draw Annihilations as well to continue countering that later on. And yeah, if he stalls enough, Bolt will be the better win condition later on, I think.
All right, so Glyph stunning a couple of units as they pop in. Gust ensuring that things are going in favor of Mugi at the moment. However, there is a Jasper Daggers in hand, and that can go down on either hero to cleanse them. Cleanse the stun or cleanse the silence. Because
the Sanctum, Compel, Thunder God's Wrath even. Eclipse is at 5 charges, so...
Yeah, Eclipse would be very effective here. Would be a full clear at the moment.
I think we have to see Jasper Daggers here. It's too tempting not to, I believe. Killing 2 heroes and having full control of this lane because
there
anything
is
that comes
the daggers.
Anything that comes in later is going to be stunned by the glyph. So,
and with 2 health items already on these heroes, there's nothing that Baby can do to keep either one alive.
Might be too late for that Blink Dagger. Eclipse should come down here. Going to clean the board completely with 5 charges, just enough. Ooh.
Well, I mean, you're not afraid of a blink out.
Yeah, because Ogre is stunned. That is very true. He came in this turn. And Jasper Daggers would not work on your own glyph.
Yeah, you're not afraid of the Maul at the moment because even though Luna is silenced, she is still blocking Drow, so entirely fine.
Now, we could even see the Skywrath Mage ability. We're going to see the concussive shot that would guarantee the kill on Drow with Thunder God's Wrath and also get value on other heroes on the board. But
yeah, you could do that. I still feel like we're going to see the Eclipse, though, because it is... Oh. And...
Oh, just to make sure the math checks out.
Just to make sure the math checks out, I guess. It wasn't really necessary, but sometimes you see an ability and it's glowing. As Slacks likes to say, if it glows, it goes. Why not light it up?
And here we can see Thunder God's Wrath plus a refresh, or unfortunately we're at 7 mana, so you can't play that magical 4/4.
Well,
you can't play 3/4 though.
Yeah, there is another Sanctum in hand, right? So you could develop a Sanctum here, then do 1 refresh, and then double Thunder Gods. It does not kill anything, though. I actually really like this dimensional portal because this means that you are, even though we said it's not usually something that happens, right? You are now threatening the Ancient as a blue list.
They're going to, bring it right back at us.
Every time. Every time we say something, they just laugh in our faces.
Mugibaby looking for that Stars Align to get to the 9 mana. Of course, with a refresh, you can play Incarnation, and then Incarnation just an unlimited refresh, basically, but still does not find Stars Align, so very unfortunate for Mugibaby. Does get the Eclipse off, kills Zeus. Able to push some damage in this tower, but that's all he has going for him at the moment. Lane 1 was cleared and taken over by Soey, and Lane 2 very much in his favor.
So the problem with that play is that you kind of give up your initiative play, right? Like this Luna has to go, but you have no way to get it back because there's no heroes in lane 1, so that you can't like develop Arcane Assault.
Or have an initiative war at the very least. So and you're stunned anyway with the glyph, so at this point I think it might just be game for Soey. He needs to find maybe a kill spell for to kill the Luna. And Eclipse is one of them.
Like an Eclipse.
So with only a single hero, you have to scroll a lot there.
Yeah, so I was going to say, there's also the double Thunder Gods that will take out the Luna.
And I think that's game.
That's it.
No response from Mugibaby. The Kanas means that there's no creeps to block or to get some lucky arrows with either.
Right.
And just pushing through a guaranteed 42 damage here, exact lethal on the board. And there's the blue coin for Soey. So Soey will take this game too.
Evens up the series. And what is impressive, right, is that it was with an Ancient kill by the mono blue player against Selemene Storm.
Charmer, if we jinx it, it's going to happen. I mean, we're on Group F. I think we've learned this already. Anything we say, the opposite will happen. The same with
somewhere Richard Garfield is pulling some strings, just laughing maniacally. Every time we try to say something, he's just saying, no, no, no.
That being said, we are in Game 3 of the series, 1-1 score between Soey and Mugibaby right now. And Soey has to now change to his red-green ramp.
Yeah.
And Mugibaby stays on this Storm deck that used to be the #1 deck in the meta. Kind of fell out of favor once Gust and Drow and a few other things were nerfed.
Now this is a very important game because it is Game 3 in the losers bracket. So whoever wins this, their tournament hopes are still alive, and whoever loses is done. They are eliminated. High pressure, and both players are essentially looking for ramp to get their combo off here because the red-green list does not have great ways to clear go-wide boards. So if this blue-green list, even though in the past you used to like use Gust and shut things out, against red-green, the reality is if you can get your combo off, you're probably just going to win. Once you've established that board and you go wide, there's no real response. Similarly, if Soey can get the combo off, start pressuring early, Mugibaby's going to rely on something like Annihilation to stall and does not have that currently.
Very good start for Mugibaby. Plays the Honor Secrets in lane 1 for card draw and the Ignite in lane 3 to trade over 2 turns with Treant and Bristleback there. So very good read by Mugi. And I think this does have a favorable matchup against red-green. I think you have a lot of Antry. You have Gust to stop the early Time of Triumphs. You have Annihilation to just erase Time of Triumph altogether. And if he gets the right draws, I think last game he was a little bit unlucky with the Stars Align, for example, not coming into his hand. I think he will be favored. No Gust in hand just yet, though. And there is already a Stars Align.
But we do see Incarnation and Emissary. So the only piece of the puzzle at this point for Mugibaby that is missing is ramp. So if we see some Stars Align, the stars will literally align and likely push this in Baby's favor.
Double Ignite on the board, double Prey in hand means that, that's a lot of value, especially if you multicast as well with the Ogre. We do see the gap there in the hand, so that's a guarantee at that point for Mugi, and that's
a big value multicast.
A lot of damage coming in, and just the setup is already there with the Ignites on both lanes 2 and 3. Unfortunately, no blue hero in lane 3, so has to wait on that one for now, and not many bodies either. Yeah,
not many bodies, but getting the multicast there, the more Prey on the weeks that you can get, the better for this blue-green list, so...
And the kill on Drow means that the Treant stops trading with the Bristleback, and now instead, a huge swing there where the Bristleback kills the Treant, gets the armor, and stays alive. But the upkeep kill will be coming in next turn anyway, so still maybe even better for Mugibaby.
Yeah.
The armor's there for Bristleback, but the upkeep kill means he's out of the game for one more round.
There's some interesting things that are going on here because that's a big tempo swing in favor of Soey, right? You have this window of opportunity because there are 4 heroes on the bench, and you can get a lot of damage and pressure in. However, after this round, Mugibaby is going to get to deploy 4 heroes. And again, if the ramp can get found, has all of the tools in hand to do what it wants to do. It has an Annihilation to stall in whatever lane needs to be stalled, and then you could go off with your combo in a different lane.
You play Emissary in lane 2. You can Salamania's Favor from lane 1. And then you can play Stars Align for the Emissary. You can also play Favor in lane 1 and play the Mist as well, because it will add the 2 mana to bump it up to 3.
Yeah.
And then you can Stars Align lane 2 and play Spring the Trap, for example. But we'll see how patient Soey is. Maybe he wants to wait for Time of Triumph and try and ramp up into that instead of the Emissary first.
Yeah, the Emissary, in my opinion, has got to be really tempting to pop down in that middle lane, simply because Mugibaby's already developed so much there, and if you can kind of wrestle control away from them to kind of take it back, it makes it, you know, Swim during the first tournament used to say it makes it almost like healing your own tower if you can just take control of a lane away from somebody, right? Even though the tower is still at, you know, 20 some odd health, all of the work that your opponent put into it gets nullified.
I'm surprised the Favor did not come down lane 1 if you're playing Mist anyway, because it would just be the best way of using up your mana.
Yeah.
So that is very surprising. You could still find Time of Triumph draw next turn and play in lane 1 with a red and green hero there. So a bit confusing. I think maybe suboptimal plays there from Soey, at least in that very instant. We'll see if he has a different line, though, with a Favor in a different lane, maybe. He could Favor into lane 3 and play Spring the Trap there to pressure all 3 lanes, because this lane is quite low already.
Yeah, that does, well, instead we see the Stone Hall. That's going to save a creep. And Soey just deciding to be patient with the ramp.
Just something you don't really want to do, because the ramp is there to not be patient, to play aggressive, to get that out early.
The entire point of ramp is to make it so that you're playing stuff before your opponent does.
The longer the game goes on, the less impactful the ramp has. So a bit odd to me, but we'll find out exactly what Soey's plans are. We are on mana turn 6, and there are a lot of hero deployments coming in for Mugibaby, so Annihilation is going to be an answer here.
Yeah, Annihilation in lane 1 is inevitable, it would seem.
Initiative in favor of Mugibaby as well, so he has a very clear-cut path here to play Annihilation if he chooses to.
Nothing to worry about. You just blow it up, or you misclick. That's got to be what that is. Look at the face. That's a misclick. That's him trying to snap it. He's like, I know I annihilate, right? That is a snap misclick. And that, you know, we'd said up on the panel he was nervous, right? Maybe that's a bit of the nerves showing, but wow.
And the emote there confirms that Soey was very surprised, and that could be very much game and series changing. This is the losers match in this group as well, so
yeah, that is rough.
And this could not only affect that lane, but could also become a snowball of tilt and emotion for Mugibaby if he does not recenter and refocus on this game.
Well,
a mistake happened.
You're going to lose this tower, and now with the ramp going into that middle lane, we're going to see the Emissary come down. It might not. The tilt might not even matter. That was rough. Clear misclick.
Gus can come in and silence these heroes. You're pushing. You have a good board state for yourself. You have still 40 health on tower. You're pushing in 11 damage. But we'll see if Mugibaby can bounce back from that misclick that completely changed the game in favor of Soey.
Mugibaby has a lot of time on his timer. It has 3 minutes 50 seconds compared to Soey's, roughly 2.5. Might want to take a deep breath or two, use that timer a bit, and settle down.
And still missing a lot of those, cards we talked about. No Sanctum, no Stars Align. He has the finishers very much in hand, but
never found the ramp. So
missing everything else. Same as game 1, or game 2 rather. Did end up losing. And so we know heroes here, so total control for Mugibaby has an okay play on the week. 2 dogs can push some extra damage. Probably Ignite will come down instead.
Ignite coming down is a play that I'm a big fan of.
And still not everything is lost for Mugibaby. He has control of lane 3. He has lane 2 down to pretty low health due to play on the week and the synergy between Ignite and play on the week. So it's not all that terrible for Mugibaby right now.
Yeah, no, Mugibaby has not eliminated himself with that misplay, but he definitely made it harder on himself. So take that deep breath, settle in. These heroes in the first lane for Soey have to get out. We already see the Blink Dagger on the Lycan. There's another one in hand that will be for this Axe, so I expect them to move now that this has been secured and there's not really 80 potential in this lane.
Annihilation in hand for Mugi, but no initiative right now, so the Blink can come in first, instead Spring the Trap. So Soey basically valuing the Spring the Trap more than the Lycan surviving if Annihilation is what he thinks will come down, which it does.
Yeah, and the Annihilation there is all about like preventing repositioning, right? If you're Mugibaby, you see 3 items in hand, there's already the Blink Dagger on the Lycan, so you just don't want them to come over here.
Now, Prey on the Weak here would be fantastic, but there is no blue hero, only the Emissary on board. Time of Triumph has not been drawn yet for Soey, but Duel has, and with this -2 armor that was set up at the very start of this game, could be crucial. Initiative is in favor of Soey as well, so I think we will be seeing a duel here. Well, it's the only play that can be played, so.
Yeah, but I mean, Soey's going to take control of this lane here because there are no counterplays available to Baby, right? It's just like you said, there's only a green hero. The green cards in hand are unplayable, and maybe with Stalin, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, the duel would have been a guaranteed kill on Treant to push extra damage, and well, I guess just want to keep initiative maybe.
At 7, here's the thing, right? At 7 mana, and knowing this lineup, right? This is not one that has Lycan, it has Drow. The only thing that you can play that are the green cards there are that are creeps are the Roseleaf Druids, right? So if you are Soey, maybe you're saving that duel, hoping that the stars align, and then you know, you hit the duel, you kind of make him waste it. You could be patient there. Yeah,
that's a very good play from Soey, actually. I take it back. He keeps initiative. He guarantees initiative. Arcane Assault was actually played by Mugibaby, so that was his idea, I think, because he has a duel to counter the only blue hero deployment that came in the next turn, but because Mugibaby was able to take that back with Arcane Assault, it means he can reset that lane again. And with 1 lane down already for Soey, this would have been the winning lane, basically. But now Annihilation can be played.
Annihilation comes down.
The right snap play is made this time.
Yes.
So the idea by Soey was great, I think. Thinking ahead a full turn, but it was punished by the Arcane Assault from Soey, or from Mugibaby.
Yeah, when you don't have any cards to allow you to gain initiative, right, then you have to sometimes think entire rounds ahead because it's that important in Artifact to make sure you get the first play to shut things down.
The Emissary here can block some damage, save the middle creep as well. But there is a second Prey on the Weak in hand for Mugibaby to really just seal the deal here, and it's going to be all about lane 2.
Yeah, if you don't play the Emissary, there could be an argument here for just loading up those Mists of Avernus in a lane where you plan on deploying. We could see those go to the middle.
Even if you do play the Emissary, there actually is no way for Soey to stop this. He can only stop 4 damage, and that would not be enough to stop the lethal here. So Mugai actually can play the Arcane Assault instead if he stalls out enough. He can take back initiative, guaranteed, and or even play a Sanctum in lane 2. Just to be careful, or in this lane, that's fine.
All right, now that's rather interesting, right? There are the Mists, just like I had said. If you don't want to play the Emissary, you just go, hey, let's give myself potentially, you know, 2 extra damage per unit.
So Arcane Assault can come down here once the refresh comes in from Mugibaby. And if he draws the right cards for next turn, if he draws an Arcane, or a Sanctum, and a Stars Align, or a Gust rather, and a Sanctum, he wins the game.
Well, in all honesty, he's threatening 80 here.
Yeah, I'm going to take it back. He played the Emissary instead. If he would have played the Arcane Assault, he would have initiative for the second lane. He could have gusted the heroes if they were in the right positioning, and then just gone off with an Incarnation.
I mean, right now, all he has to do is not die in this middle lane, and he's likely going to push that 80 because he has a Incarnation and a second Emissary, and we know that those red-green lists don't have a lot to interrupt you. You have duels and you have Berserker's Calls, but there's going to be...
So a Glyph played instead. Spring the Trap can be played from lane 1, and then the Blink is in hand for Soey as well. But he has to defend 2 lanes now.
Yeah, so I trailed off there at the end. There's going to be no red hero in that 3rd lane, so the duels and the Berserker's Calls not helping right now. Now, there is a Blink Dagger, right? So Soey can take this Axe and move it to the 3rd lane. You have to assume that that's what is going to happen.
Or just try and go for the win in the second lane.
Or try to go for the win, all right.
The Gust could be a problem for Soey, but he has 2 daggers in hand, so he's not too scared of that either. The duel is also fantastic to eliminate one of the 2 colors. Initiative is in favor of Mugibaby, though. We'll see what he goes with instead. Not too many impactful plays, though.
I mean, there's not a lot, but I was going to say you have 2 incarnations, so like wasting one, quote unquote, isn't really a waste. If you do this, it's a big blocker, and it's not something that your opponent wants to leave on the board. So you could maybe see them reflexively make a mistake here, overvalue killing it.
Without Triumph, the Kana would stay alive, and we see most of the cards in hand for Mugibaby are blue, so Axe can't do too much there with the duel, and we're going to see a second incarnation come down, probably, which should surprise Soey a tiny bit.
I mean, that's an option. You also, at this point, could opt to go with like Prey on the Weak, for example, because again, if you're planning on just using the second Emissary in the next lane, then that's a lot of blockers.
And again, Mugibaby can stall here because he knows that duel cannot kill the Kana. Berserker's Call is not effective. There's no Drow with Gust in this deck, and there's no enough magic either in the deck for Soey. And even then, he did not have lethal on tower anyway, but he can kind of slow play this.
Yeah.
See what his opponent has, let him waste his mana, and then start playing his incarnation and shut down the lane with
Until you see that red number, say 28 or more, you don't have to do a single thing if you're Mugi, right?
But even then, without enough magic, it's not even a consideration, really.
Yeah. All right, so now you see the numbers went up. I have to do something to block. Again, I'm a big fan of Prey on the Weak here. Your opponent's down to 3, but they're going to be extra conservative, play another incarnation. And the thing about incarnation is it's free, right? So even if they have an answer, then you can turn around and use the Prey on the Weak following that.
Now, if you don't have lethal here, you can also simply block, let your opponent waste his mana, and then blink out to lane 3 and try and find lethal there with the second Emissary coming in. So we'll see, and the Prey on the Weak as well. We'll see if that's what Mugibaby goes for. He wasted the incarnation, but he has a Sanctum there, so it's okay.
So Soey's used 1 Stars Align, but it's going to be a Stonehall Elite that was the attempted play there, right? This Glyph is going to stop that Stonehall from mattering, right? You're going to play the creep, it's going to be stunned, so that's basically it. These 2 Jasper Daggers will not help as far as doing additional damage to the tower.
And now Mugi can start fishing 4 cards with Diabolic Revelation. They will kill. Well, actually, most of these were buffed by the Emissary, so only 1 kill here onto.
Yeah, that makes a potential Prey on the Weak over there incredibly powerful as well. If you don't want to use the Emissary and instead just use another Prey, that could be a really big deal.
And at this point, with 1 mana and the Glyph on board here, it would have to be a very odd combination of cards in Soey's hand and in terms of items and stars aligned to something else to be able to get lethal here. So I think Mugibaby is safe with blinking out, even just giving this up at the moment. Gonna Prey instead.
Well, I think if you want to move out, then you have to Prey, right? Because that Centaur would have been +8 damage. Oh.
You could go for the Diabolic here as well.
Oh.
You could buff up with the Emissary. Oh. That's
interesting. All right. Perhaps math was done and they realized they didn't have lethal here.
I'd be very surprised, though. I mean, a second Emissary, Prey on the Weak as well with a Diabolic Revelation combo. It was 100% lethal, I think, and with Sanctum as well to be able to play both the Prey on the Weak and the Emissary. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like just going for the Ancient Kill here was correct.
And the lethal wasn't there for Soey there, I think, unless, I mean, it would have to be a very odd combination of like Obliterating Orb and some weird stuff to take on the Glyph. I mean, you can't equip Jasper Daggers on the Stonehall Elite, for example. I'd have to think back on what combination of items Mugibaby could have been playing around in lane 2 that could have spelled lethal.
Well, unfortunately for Mugibaby, he's now leaving the window open for Soey to get back in this. I was very surprised by that sequence of plays. But again, we've already seen Mugibaby with the misclick earlier. It might just be nerves, might have missed it, you know?
Unearned Secrets unaffected here. Unfortunately, that creep does, and sometimes you want the creep to arrow, but this time...
Sometimes you're like, okay, hit me.
Missing out on 2 card draw. Very unfortunate for Mugibaby there. Double Ignite comes in, kills the Bronze Legionnaire that was very strong and hitting tower. And initiative is in favor of Soey, but again, still, is he playing time and triumph? I mean, he has not seen it the whole game. Still 3 in the deck.
Has not seen it. It is, and that's it. He knows there's nothing he can do. So Mugi, despite the misclick, right, settled down.
I think he still does. I mean, we're looking at his camera now. I think he does not believe what happened in that game. I think even that last turn, things could have gone. I mean, maybe it was a safe play to do what he did, but I think he had the lethal in lane 3. Again, we're seeing both opponents' both players' cards, so we have kind of the guaranteed equation solved already, whereas they don't really know for sure.
I mean, even if you don't know the hand, because it's only a green hero there, you can kind of make some assumptions, but overall, it doesn't matter, because on the stat sheet tomorrow, when you're looking at this, it's going to say W, and Mugibaby keeping his tournament hopes alive.
But he's still not out of here yet. He has one more match to win, the decider match in this group. So, analyst panel, what was that?